From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to the Auto Success Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Pat Driscoll from the Certified Agricultural Group. Welcome, Pat.
Brian, thank you for having us.
Hey, we're really excited to have you here. Let's just kind of dive right in. Can you tell me a little bit about what the opportunity looks like to sell vehicles to farmers in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this kind of thing because it's a huge opportunity. Mm-hmm. Let's just look at the core numbers, and we can break this down. I want to point this out. We can break this down to any county in the country because we have access to county level agricultural data, numbers of farms, decision makers, the makeup of that farm, anything you want to know about agriculture locally, we can produce. But let's talk on a grand scale, national numbers. Mm-hmm. We know from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, there are 2 million farms in this country. And according to USDA, that's anything over 2 acres that produces more than $1,000 a year in agricultural revenue, productive revenue. So it can be a small flower operation, a floriculture operation. In this day and age, it could be a hemp operation, to as big as a 60,000 acre ranch in Colorado, everything in between. All of that averaged out, we know 2 million farms in this country. We know on average there are 3 trucks per farm or ranch. We know that 45.7% of them rotate at least one of their trucks annually. And if you run the math on that, it comes out to just north of 900,000 trucks that agriculture buys any given year. We know 60% of those are new, 40% are used. Wow. That's the agricultural opportunity.
Wow, 900,000 trucks. That's a lot of trucks.
That's a lot of trucks.
Wow.
And we thought, it's enough trucks where maybe there should be a program within the automotive industry that helps dealers with that core truck customer. That's why we created what we have. And we are, to this day, we've been at it for 12 years now. To this day, we are the only agricultural program in the entire automotive industry.
Wow. Well, I mean, during this day and age, that's pretty valuable. I mean, it seems like dealers are just sitting on tons of trucks. It's crazy. Like a year ago, couldn't find a truck. Now it's like, boy, I got all these trucks. So it's a good time.
We kid around a little bit, Brian. For the last 3 years, the dealers haven't needed help selling something they don't have, and all of a sudden, in the last 6 months, they love us again. It's nice to be loved, Brian.
Yeah, sure is. Well, I've heard you brought up an agricultural book of business, and I probably have audience that understands what that is. I probably have audience that has no idea what that is. So let's start with what is that, and how can a dealer grow it? And if they don't have one, how can they get one started?
Sure. When we talk about an agriculture book of business, what we're talking about is realizing that the agricultural customer should be a subset within your customer base at a dealership. And for multiple reasons. First, we've already talked about how many trucks they buy, but let's back up a little bit. 2 million farms with an average of 3 trucks per farm. That's a fleet of 6 million trucks that are constantly needing parts and service. So when we talk about the agriculture book of business, we're talking about it holistically within the dealer environment. That's not just new or used sales. That's parts, that's service, that's F&I. It's every profit center of the dealership. Agriculture should have a space inside there. So when we talk about the agriculture book of business, look at agriculture as a profit source within that dealership. In and of itself, it's not a retail customer, it's not a commercial customer, it's an agriculture customer. And that's the space we live in, and that's where we work to help dealers excel. One of the things we know about the agriculture customer is that one of the top 3 things they look for when they're deciding where to do their business is they want an agriculturally knowledgeable dealer. Think about it this way, and I'm a farmer. When I'm out buying a combine or a tractor or gates or feed or seed or whatever it is, the dealers that I work with every day, the only customers they serve are who? Farmers and ranchers. When I go to buy my agricultural truck, I'm typically buying from a minivan salesperson. Nothing against the minivan sales folks out there.
Yeah.
But that's not the person who's going to know about me as a farm or ranch customer. And so we're trying to create dealers in the automotive space that will make a farmer or rancher feel like they're more at home, like the tractor dealership, the implement dealership, feed seed gates, again, whatever it may be. But that speaks to that book of business, recognizing the agriculture customer base as a core customer base that you are, uniquely suited to serve.
You know, that kind of hits home, because when I sold cars, I sold in Lebanon, Ohio, which is surrounded by farms. Maybe not so much anymore. It's grown up a lot in the last 20-something years, but at that time, I was really good at selling Buicks, Olds, and Pontiacs, and GMCs to retired people.
Sure.
But when somebody came in and they were asking, a GMC has a gazillion ways you can order that truck. Mm-hmm. Like that, I was lost. So you're right. You want somebody that would understand the language that you're talking.
Absolutely, and that's really important. That's why, again, we go back to research. I can speak to this, again, as a producer myself, anecdotally, but let's look at the industry research. Farmers and ranchers have three primary criteria they use when they decide where they're going to do their ag truck business. Durability is number one. We don't have a dog in that fight, Brian. That's a manufacturer deal. They'll duke it out themselves to determine who wins that match for that farm or ranch customer. But number two and number three on the list, that's what we do. Number two, agriculturally knowledgeable dealer. It's that important to them that they have a dealership more like the tractor dealership than a truck dealership when they're buying their truck. And that's why we put such a priority on that. It bears out in the research. It has to bear out if that dealer wants to improve their agriculture book of business. They have to recognize that agriculture is its own channel within the customer grouping, but then they have to be able to serve that unique customer base. And that's when we talk about that book of business. That's what we're talking about.
You were mentioning all the different, parts of the dealership. I think that parts and service is probably somewhat self-explanatory. A truck that works is going to need more parts and service than a truck that, goes out and gets fast food and out to dinner.
Yep. The grocery getters, as we call them.
Yeah, but you also brought up F&I. What's different? What's different about the F&I experience that an agriculture person requires versus a grocery getter?
Oh, I love that question. I can tell you're gonna give me a lot of good questions. So the way we help F&I is when, again, I'll refer to when I'm buying agricultural equipment and implements and whatnot. When I buy those things, I need specific payment terms. That match my farm or ranch cash flow. As a cash cropper, I'm getting 80% of my revenue in a 30-day window once a year. I want to make all of my payments at that time. It's inconvenient for me to have to manage that money through the year because I got a ton of other things I'm managing. I don't want to make monthly payments. I get all that revenue in once, I make my annual truck payment. If I'm a cattleman, I get 2 calf crops a year. I'm paying all of my bills out of those calf crops. Why do I want to make monthly payments on a truck? I want a twice-a-year payment schedule on my trucks. It's the only thing I have that I don't have a twice-a-year payment schedule on. If I'm a fruit producer, works this way in a lot of in the nut business too. I typically am getting paid quarterly for my product. I want to make quarterly payments on my cherry shaker and my truck. Ask a dealer to provide those kind of payment terms. If you're not an ag dealer, you're not going to get them. What we have armed our dealers with is CAD-FI, Certified Ag Dealer Financing, that acts as that irregular payment term option for the farm or ranch customer when they're buying their truck from you. The beauty is CAD-FI also works. It really is in the form of a line of credit. So it covers not just the truck purchase, new and used trucks, by the way. It covers it if it's upfitted. So if you have a flatbed or a body of some sort put on it, anything that's included in that purchase. In fact, we're working with dealers now. This kind of takes your question a step further. We're working with dealers now to put some of our AgPack partner products in their parts department. So a farm and ranch customer can exercise their AgPack benefit At the same time they buy their truck, they can get the upfit, they can get the Van Air products, get the discounts on those products at the time of purchase, and roll it all into that one note.
That one loan.
Yeah, right there in the F&I department. And the dealer gets their piece of that as well as the customer being able to, everybody wins in this scenario. Another thing that we've just introduced is CAD Protect, coming out of the same department, service contract. Mm-hmm. Every farmer or rancher out there has bought a service contract because we beat our stuff up, Brian.
Yeah.
We do. We bend it, we break it, and we need help all the time. So we like service contracts. The problem is the first time we go to use a service contract, we find in the fine print, agricultural activities 99% of the time are excluded. So I broke that truck on the farm, and now this contract I bought isn't going to help me. So we just introduced a couple of months ago CAD Protect. So our dealers, these products are only available through an ag dealer. CAD Protect is a service contract that we've worked with ProGuard Warranty to create that specifically caters to the agricultural truck. Instead of excluding it, it's written specifically for that truck. And again, that's a product that makes that dealership feel like it is a tractor dealership or an implement dealership because it's servicing the unique farm and ranch needs and understands those needs and it services those needs. But that's how we touch through that F&I department, is continuing to identify these gaps that exist between automotive and agriculture and filling in those gaps.
Well, it seems like that would be really valuable to a farmer, especially if a farmer is getting all their money one time a year. If we're 6 months from that time and a tool that I use every single day breaks, it probably gives me a lot of peace of mind to have a service contract that I can lean on. It makes the unpredictable predictable.
Absolutely, and it's inevitable. My baler breaks when I've got a fresh cutting down on the ground that's dried to the perfect level, and my baler breaks. I can't bale the hay that's on the ground. The truck breaks at the time I need it the most. I need that service contract. I need to know that I'm covered, and it's going to be taken care of with priority. And the beauty of our service contract is such that ProGuard wrote this in. They're incentivizing the agricultural customer to get the truck serviced at the dealership they bought the contract from. Mm-hmm. So there's a zero deductible if you use the dealership that you bought your contract from. Yeah,
that's nice. So what do you do if your baler? I'm just curious. If your baler breaks, you've got hay on the ground. Because it's probably going to go bad in a day or two, right?
Well,
what do you do?
It depends on the weather conditions. The first thing that happens is there's a lot of language we can't say on mic. But no, it depends on what the break is. Sometimes it can be fixed easily. Sometimes it's a lot tougher. This again speaks to an implement dealer versus a truck dealer. The implement dealer will call them and will say, "This is a bad break. Do you have a loaner?"
No.
And so a lot of times those implement dealers will have a spare baler sitting there. It's a used baler that they'll say, "We'll bring it out, and we'll pick that one up and bring it in and get it fixed for you." So so they're ready for those breaks when they happen, because they're going to happen. But the worst case scenario is I can't get it fixed right away. I do have hay on the ground. And that's something that sometimes people don't fully understand, as we deal in a world of perishable product. You're right. If we don't get that hay up, the old saying, you make hay when the sun shines, that roots in agriculture, because we can't bring that hay up and bale it if the moisture is too high in the hay, because then you hear about barn fires. Mm-hmm. Barn fires more often than not are caused because hay that was too wet was baled and put inside the barn. It actually, as it ferments, it actually heats up inside that bale, and it will start on fire.
Oh, wow.
So you have to have it at the perfect, and if it gets too dry, then it won't ferment and the proteins won't be in there, so it becomes a poor feed source for animals in the off season. You're going down a whole different channel now.
Let's circle
we
back.
We can talk if you'd like.
Yeah, let's circle back to the car dealerships.
Presented from the Ishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Actually, one more question that's a little off topic is you have a lot of experience in broadcasting.
I do.
Can you tell me just a little bit about that?
Well, 30 years on the air as a farm broadcaster in the Midwest, and still, we have Ag Rally, which is our own event, but we have a 4-hour-long broadcast that happens during Ag Rally on RFD TV and the Cowboy Channel. So Mark Oppold, who's a huge name in the ag industry, ag media person, Mark and I are the co-hosts of Ag Rally. But I've spent now 35, 36, 7 years behind a microphone. Most of it talking about agriculture, but sometime as an investigative reporter too. I do have an Oscar hanging on the wall and have a few awards for. Another rabbit hole we could go down, Brian, but some great guests over the years, from heads of state, presidents of the United States, Bush and Clinton, to presidents of foreign lands, Russia, and whatnot, to people like Ted Nugent and celebrities, race car drivers, all kinds of stuff. Great history, though. Love it. Never stopped carrying my agriculture banner through all of it, though.
That's good. Well, I mean, with all your agriculture experience, in broadcasting, but also the fact that you own and operate a farm, it sounds like you definitely have your finger on the pulse of what agriculture people want from a dealer. So I want to get back to that. So
yes.
let's say I'm a dealer. Mm-hmm. I don't have an agriculture book of business right now. And I'm listening to this podcast and I say, holy moly, 900,000 trucks a year, I want my piece of that. How do I get started and what does that look like?
First thing is, you probably do have a book of business, an ag book of business, you just don't realize it. Mm-hmm. The first thing to do is get in touch with that and retain it. And use this program to retain that book and then build that book. And we can help you identify that. I think if you go in and you talk with a dealer and you say, do you consider agriculture an important part of your business? They'll go, oh yeah, we have farmers all the time. Have you identified them as a core customer base? That's your book, right? So identify them as a core customer base. Figure out how to use this program. We'll work with you how to use this program to retain that base. By improving your agriculture awareness and knowledge and how to interact with them. You'll see them become a whole different person if you do. But then understand how they can influence their friends and family within the agricultural industry, the ag community, and they will open up channels, and then we will help you open up additional channels, and we will help you bring additional agriculture revenue. Those folks that are already doing business with you, take our program to them and say, I'm looking at becoming one of these, a certified agriculture dealer. Here are some of the things that they can deliver. Would this be important to you? And I can guarantee you, first of all, some of them are going to say, no, we don't use any of those products. We'll coach you on how to interact with that, because I'll tell you what, if I have somebody that comes at me, even somebody I've known in my lifetime, out of the blue saying, hey, does this look good? I'll say, why are you asking?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you trying to sell me?
Yeah.
There's a way to ask the question so that you get honest answers. But ask them, I'm thinking about doing this. Would it be important to you if I became an agriculture dealer? If you just put it that bluntly, everybody's going to shake their head, yeah, that would mean something to me. And so, again, identifying your current book of business that you may not even realize is a book, identifying that, using the program to retain, and then build on top of that. They're all out there. When we walk into a store, we don't walk in coveralls with a piece of straw hanging out of our teeth. There's no neon sign flashing saying, farmer, farmer, farmer. We're not going to announce. We're just coming in because, again, remember, every dealer I work with, all they do is work with farmers. I don't walk in thinking I need to identify myself as a farmer here. I'm just walking in and doing business. And so they're not, just ask, are you a farm or ranch customer when you have customers walk in the store by any chance? And if you're already a certified ag dealer, you say, we've got something special for you. We're an agriculture dealer, and we can do a lot of extra things for you. There's so many channels, though, on identifying what you already have, building on what you already have, even realizing the impact, it's funny because we've visited some dealers over the years that we've been doing this. There's a cornfield right across the road. And you ask, do you have a lot of agriculture around here? Oh, no, there's no farms around here. There's no farms around here. No farms. You know what? Let me show you the U.S. Department of Agriculture data for your county. You know I'm in Cumberland County right here, and here's the U.S. Department. I'm not making this up. There's 942 farms in the county. Really? Yeah. Let's talk about the business they're already doing with you and the other business that could come in by being an ag dealer.
Well, I mean, there aren't very many places where you can drive an hour in any direction and not pass a farm.
No.
I mean, I'm trying, in my mind, I'm trying to think, like maybe in New York if there's traffic, right?
I'm going to tell you something, though, on that point. We just signed up 2 dealers, a small dealer group on Long Island. Because when everybody thinks of Long Island, and I'm reinforcing your point here, Brian, when everybody thinks Long Island, they think New York. They don't realize the eastern half of the island.
Montauk and all the way up there.
It's all agriculture.
Yeah.
All agriculture. And we just had 2 stores that we originally talked with at NADA. We just had 2 stores, a small group there, sign up because they had several hundred farms in the eastern end, the eastern half of Long Island. So Hudson on Croton, another one of our dealers in northern New York City, when they called us, and they said, we want to be an ag dealer. We had to go 5 counties out to start finding a significant number of farms. Even when we went 5 counties out, we were at about 150. And they went, oh, really? That many? And we're going, yes, that many.
Well, when you're talking about Long Island, though, when you're saying Long Island, several hundred farms, if they're buying 1 truck every 3 years each, that's 100 trucks a year. What if you got half of that? Like what does 50 trucks a year mean to a dealership? I mean, that's enormous.
Yeah, it is.
And that's on a skinny little island in New York. Like we're in Akron, Ohio right now. Like imagine what it would look like here.
One of our dealer groups is Susquehanna Auto Group, which is based in Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and hey to the Susquehanna folks. Love them. They are in the heart of the highest concentration of agriculture in the United States. It's a CDJR store and a Ford store. Lancaster County has more farms than any other county in the United States. There's almost 6,000 farms in one county, in Lancaster County.
Wow.
Which is amazing. And there's a huge Amish population there, obviously, in Lancaster County. But there's even trucks in service on some of those operations. And the breadth of agriculture, the diversity of agriculture, and the number of trucks in agriculture all will astound anybody that sits down and takes a look at the numbers.
Well, I imagine in Lancaster County, it's probably really easy to market to farmers because there's nobody but farmers, right? But
pretty much.
But like for another dealership, most dealers are brilliant at marketing. I mean, that's how they become successful dealers. They know how to reach the minivan buyers. They know how to reach the Jeep buyers. They know how to reach sports car buyers and every other kind of buyer.
Right.
But if they've never paid attention to farmers before, is that something that's in their wheelhouse, or like how do you market to farmers?
Well, and another great question, and you're right. Reaching farmers and ranchers is a whole different ballgame. It's different than anything else that the dealership is doing, and again, that's in large part why we're in existence, is to be the agricultural expert for dealerships in knowing what channels exist and knowing how to get into those channels. And it's like when I went up, I'll use Susquehanna as an example again, and we do this. I just did this for the Vance Auto Group out in Oklahoma. They just brought 8 stores into the program. One of the things that we'll do is we'll do in-store training, and I'll go in and do it myself if I can. And part of what we do is we will go out into the field and we'll say, let's go meet some of your best prospects, folks that you're working with to try and sell them trucks right now. Let me help you make that introduction. I don't even work for the dealership, and I can start that conversation for you and show you how we get them into your trucks. But we're also going to stop at the Cooperative Extension Service office in the county. We're going to stop at the County Farm Bureau office. We're going to introduce ourselves. And most dealers don't even know these places exist. And these are the hubs of agriculture in any county in the country. and we can make the introductions. We're going to help get them to understand what this dealer is committing to by being an ag dealer, and that's what we do for our dealers. Is we know the agriculture sub-media. A lot of people, if they're not a dealer, if they're not in the automotive industry, they probably don't know that you're here talking to dealers all over the country, right? You're a subset, you're a dealer, a specific media that exists. Agriculture, farmers and ranchers have their own subset of media that most folks don't know about. We know how to tap into those things and get that word out.
Interesting. Well, Pat, I really appreciate you coming in today. Is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience?
You know what? It would be a whole nother program, Brian. So we're probably going to have to make arrangements to do this again.
Yeah.
But there's some amazing new research out there.
Let's talk about that.
The Farmer Speaks research, we just got that in. JL Pharmacus does this. It's one of the best pieces of research that comes out of the ag industry every year if you're trying to sell to the ag industry. Just a very high level view of what that new research said this year. We just got this in the last couple of weeks here, but farmers and ranchers are not, the ag economy this year is going to be worse than it has been the last couple of years, but the last couple of years have been record setting. So when you look at the ag economy this year compared to where it was 5 years, it still is off the charts. That said, farmers are tightening their belts a little bit. It showed up in this research. But what it said was that the vast majority of farmers are not planning on making any changes in their equipment purchases. And trucks fall into equipment for farmers and ranchers. And when I say equipment, I'm talking tractors and combines, sprayers and whatnot. They're not planning on making big changes in their equipment purchase plan. But when you drill down, what are they going to be spending their money on? What Farmer Speaks research showed is that the last 2 years, they've been buying all the specialty stuff. They've been buying the planters and the sprayers and the combines, and it's a total shift this year. For the first time in 4 years, the equipment that they're buying are what I call the hammers in the equipment toolbox, right? And what I mean by that is your planters and your sprayers and whatnot. Those are the Torx drive wrenches. Those are the specialty tools in the toolbox. The tractors and the trucks are the hammers of the toolbox. In other words, you use that hammer for every job, not the specialty jobs. And for the first time in 4 years, the hammers are where the priority is. So what we've seen is this major shift where the vast majority of farmers and ranchers are not planning on changing their equipment spend this year, just what they're buying, and they're shifting back to buying hammers this year, which couldn't be better for dealers because they got trucks coming out of their ears as a rule. And they know that they've got a market in the intended purchases of farmers and ranchers this year. So that's just one piece of research. We've also got new Farm Journal media research out that we could spend another 20 minutes running through. We'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, well, your hammer analogy is great because it makes sense. I mean, there weren't that many trucks to buy, and if farmers have 3 trucks and they replace one a year, the average age is probably around 3 years. Well, has it been easy to get trucks 3 years ago? Heck no. but maybe it was a lot easier to get a sprayer or a combine or whatever the specialty tool was. You know, so they were having a great year. They wanted to buy something. They had to buy what they could get, and I mean, it doesn't make sense for a business to pay $10,000 over sticker for a truck if they don't have to.
Exactly.
And so now, they're coming to the market right at the right time when you can buy them for $10,000 under sticker.
They're thinking.
Well, Pat, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
We hope to have you again soon.
Look forward to it.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this Auto Success Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Pat Driscoll from Certified Agricultural Group. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.